Hi friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am playing with this really pretty Wildflower bouquet stamp set from Maker Forte. I was really excited to get this because it's got absolutely gorgeous sentiments. It has 3 beautiful bouquet images, and I just couldn't wait to stamp this and watercolor it or color it with my Copics or something. When I stamped it, I was a little disappointed because there wasn't a lot of space to color and stamp. So I tried doing a no line coloring technique, but I couldn't really see where the lines were. So I did a super messy Copic coloring technique, and it's okay. I got lots of color, which I liked, but it just wasn't doing it for me. So I decided that I would try doing some embossing with this stamp set because the working parts are just a little bit small to do any kind of coloring. So there's lots of black and white techniques that you can use. You can heat emboss it in metallics, which always looks beautiful. And I decided that I would show you what it looks like when you heat emboss it in colored embossing powder. So I pulled out, I don't have very much colored embossing powder here. Most of my stuff is in New York in storage till I get back in a couple weeks. So I pulled out, I have this Nouveau embossing in a Serenity blue color. I've got this red embossing powder from Maker Forte, which I think actually turns to gold. And I've got some Distress Embossing Glaze in the Kitsch Flamingo. Unfortunately, that Distress Embossing Glaze just turns clear. Like it doesn't, the pink doesn't look like anything. So I'm going to go ahead and use just the blue one for you today. This is Serenity Blue. It's very pretty. And I was happy with the end result on the card. I don't usually use Nouveau embossing powders too much. I don't find that they're a really detail powder, and I like detail powder because some sentiments, I emboss a lot of sentiments, and some sentiments have really tiny fonts, and if you aren't using a detailed embossing powder, you're not getting those letters to come out crisp and clear when you emboss them. So I cut a piece of black cardstock to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I used my powder tool on it, and I pulled out one of the bouquets from the Wildflower bouquet set. And I have to say, the end result I quite liked. I've made cards like this before because I actually have a lot of colorful embossing powders, but I did like one flower in pink, one flower in blue, one flower in yellow, and it was gorgeous. If you have more colors of embossing powders, definitely use all of them on one card. It's so beautiful. That black background with bright, colorful florals is always gorgeous, no matter what medium you're using. So I went ahead and stamped this with my clear embossing ink from Maker Forte. Then I used my blue embossing powder and tapped it all off and brushed away a little bit of the extra stuff. And then I'm going to go ahead and heat set this. And you can see how pretty that is. Like, that is really pretty. I don't need a ton of details. I can see that it's a floral bouquet. I really like the way it looks. So I decided I wanted to add 2 more of these little bouquets. I'm kind of wishing I'd pulled out my larger Misty for this. Actually, I put a piece of plastic down so I could not worry about having to clean off that stamp set. Inked it up again in my clear, and then I'll pour on my blue embossing powder, and I'll go ahead and heat set that. And I really think this bright color looks nice. And definitely try the multicolors. I usually do one bouquet at a time, so I would do one in blue and do the second one in a different color and the third one in a different color. It's just so pretty. And I will definitely be playing with embossing powders when I get back to New York. So looking forward to being reunited with all my craft supplies. So I'm going to do a third one, and here's where I really needed my larger MISTI, because I wanted this to hang off that bottom right hand corner, and it wasn't really going to work. And I kind of tried to make it work, but I wasn't able to actually stamp the entire bouquet image in this spot because it's going to overlap the edge, and I didn't want to overlap the other bouquet too much. Probably should have just masked it and overlapped the bouquets in both spots. That would have been a neater and tidier technique. And I'm trying, but it's just hitting the edge of my MISTI, so it's not going to get the edge of the card front, which is okay. I'll go ahead and trim 1/4 of an inch off that side and 1/4 of an inch off the top that doesn't have any of the heat embossed images. And I'm going to go ahead and heat set this. So I have that all heat set. I love that blue on black. I pulled out my all season sentiments. I'm still working on my first package, the very first package I ever got. And I'm just going through it, seeing what I want to do. And here's a little sympathy sentiment. And I'm thinking, actually it's that white one. Yes, that little sympathy sentiment. And it fits kind of perfectly there. I did try actually to heat emboss one of the sentiments from the set, but again, my embossing powder just wasn't fine enough to actually be able to see the words clearly. So I'm going to cut this down just because it didn't emboss on that side, and there's a lot of space at the top, so I can just trim that off. And I'll go ahead and I have a card base already. I'm going to put that white sentiment down, and I'll do that with some foam. If you haven't yet tried these pre-printed sentiments from the all-season sentiment sets, they're on version 2, which lines up the back ones and the front ones, which is really nice. If you haven't tried them yet, definitely try them, because it was nice just to pull out a sentiment that was all done. They are foilable. I highly recommend, if you want them foiled, get out your foiling stuff and foil a whole sheet at one time, and then cut them apart, and you'll just have them all ready to go when you need them. So I'm using this as a sympathy card, or I'm going to have it in my stash as a sympathy card. Now my card front is now cut down to 4 by 5 1/4. And the card base is 4 1/4 by 11, which I scored and folded at 5 1/2. So now I'm going to take a piece of white and I'm going to cut it at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So I'll have a little white mat behind my black card front, and that will pull out the white from that sentiment strip, and it will kind of tone it down a little bit, because right now it looks really white compared to the rest of the card. So this will kind of coordinate with that and make it seem like it works. And you'll see I'm using some liquid glue here. I love these glue tubes. I have 2 that are almost done, and they've lasted me a good 6 months, the 2 glue tubes. So I got a couple different kinds. I think they're all pretty much the same, but I like them because they're easy to squeeze if you have sore hands. So I got a set of these Lady Liberty crown jewel gems. These are stunning. It's such a pretty blue color. It's amazing. I quite like these, and I find that I'm using these all the time. I keep going back and forth about what color my favorite crown jewel gems are, but I really like them all. I use them on every project. It's amazing. So I'm just using my magic wand tool here. You saw that I used my on the hook tweezers. These are the 2 best tools for putting gems down on the market, in my opinion. So that's going to complete my card. I'm going to put links to all of these things below, and I would love it if you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed, and click that bell so you get notifications every time I upload a new video. And let me know what your favorite color of embossing powder is below. I'd love to know. Have a wonderful day.